mostly high today as dovish comments from Federal Reserve's officials and a smooth action of Japanese super long debt eased investors' jitters in bond markets. But shares rose in Australia, India and Japan, but Chinese shares fell the most since April on reports of regulatory interventions to tame runaway speculations. MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside of Japan gave up early gains and was down 0.2%, dragged lower by losses in China. The CSI 300 fell as much as 2.6% and was on track for a third day of declines after reports that financial regulators were preparing cooling measures for the market. U.S. stock futures rose 0.1%. Investors took heart as federal officials comment on the 30 years Japanese government bonds auctions, which went off smoothly, drawing buyers into beaten down equities. Australian shares advanced 1%, covering from their biggest one-day sell-off since April, while the Nikkei 225 rose 1.6%. India's benchmark Sensex up 1.1% as markets opened after the government slashed levies on several goods to fire up consumption and counteract U.S. tariffs. And in U.S., a bipartisan group of House members has unveiled a new legislation that would ban lawmakers from trading individual stocks. Now, the House and Senate lawmakers have long traded stocks or made investments in the market, but there is growing concerns that such transactions expose an underlying question that has long dogged Congress. For more than a decade, a series of bills have been proposed to address such trades, but differences about the details and the lack of support from top congressional leaders stalled past reform efforts. China's Xinjiang Jelly Holdings, the owners of Volvo, have announced that it sold 48,029 cars in August, down 9% year-on-year, among which sales of BEVs sank 28% year-on-year, accounting for 20% of total sales. The automaker said in a statement that the sales of fully electric cars fell 28%, accounting for 20% of total sales volumes. In July, the company reported a plunge in quarterly profit, citing weak consumer confidence, leading to soft and volatile demand, as well as new tariffs posing challenges to the automotive industry. Sales of electrified cars as a whole, also including plug-in hybrids, were down 17% and accounted for 43% of total sales volume. Also reported a sharp drop in quarterly profit in July, saying demand remains soft and volatile amid weakening consumer confidence, while new tariff pose challenges for the auto industry. Finally, crude oil prices declined 1%, extending more than 2% decline on the previous session, as investors and traders looked ahead to a weekend meeting of OPEC+, where producers are expected to consider another increase in output targets. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude down 0.63% to sell for $63.57. Brent crude futures sells for $67.20 with a downward margin of 0.59%. Bonnie Light sells for $78.62. with a decline of 2.84%. And for the OPEC basket, dealers offer $71.94 and has an uptick of 3.29%.